You're listening to the Fan Club Podcast, where two polar opposites experience each other's fandoms for the very first time.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fan Club Podcast. My name is Sarah.
This is Matthew.
And this is episode 40.
Yes.
Fitting that TV show month ends on episode 40.
Yeah, that is actually pretty fitting.
So yeah, we are finishing Moon Knight and we are finishing TV show month today. It has been a crazy long month. This has been a crazy exhausting month. However, it has paid off. We've gotten a fair amount of new listeners because we've been posting so often this month.
Yes.
So thank you so much. Posting 3 times a week, having not only we have a toddler, so trying to record and edit 3 episodes a week for an entire month is not an easy
And
feat.
my crazy work schedule.
Yeah. And so it'll be so glorious to go back to the 1 episodes a week. Next week, we are going to go back to the movies. So we are going to go
To Black Widow.
Black Widow. And so you will just have our regular Marvel Monday
Yes.
uploads. That's going to be the only one for the foreseeable future until we get to She-Hulk and Miss Marvel.
Which Miss Marvel will be the first week of January, and I think She-Hulk is the third week of January.
Yes.
I believe.
So, and then the week of Christmas, we're gonna put up a bonus episode of us covering the Guardians Christmas special.
Yeah, so you'll get 2 episodes that week. One on Christmas and then one that Monday.
Yes.
So it should be on Sunday and Monday, if my math is correct.
This episode, we're gonna go over the 5th and 6th episodes of Moon Knight, and let's get into it. This episode will contain talks of mental health and possibly child abuse, just because that's the story.
Yes.
We're gonna try not to go too hard into the nitty gritty of it all. We just want to talk about the facts of the show.
Yes.
But if that is something that you don't want to talk about or think about,
We will put the in the description we will put timestamp to where that sort of child abuse part starts. Major part where we see one of the psyches come into play.
And so
where it would be doing a major disservice to not talk
to the
about
story.
which,
but we don't mean any disrespect. Neither one of us are licensed professionals.
Yes.
Professionals of any kind. If this is not the episode for you and you don't want to hear about any of those topics,
we
totally
completely understand it. We don't mean any disrespect to anyone. It's just there's some stuff that we do have to talk about for some stuff to make sense.
Yes. And we will try to treat it with as much respect as we possibly can.
Yes.
And yeah, with all that being said, let's just jump into it.
Let's jump right into it. We start immediately after the 4th episode, where we see a giant hippo goddess.
Yes.
Which is by far my favorite character in this entire show.
Her name is Towerette.
Towerette.
And I kind of want a plushie of her, to be completely honest. There is foreshadowing in the first episode.
I don't think it's foreshadowing, though. I think it's just...
He has, like, a box in the museum. He's moving a box full of these little plushies.
Here's the thing. The Egyptian gods and goddesses, any of them will... I think she's just the one that ferries people across.
Marvel doesn't do anything on accident, though.
Honestly, I don't think that really mattered with it, because there's also a bunch of other stuff there.
No, I agree with you, but...
I don't think it was foreshadowing.
I literally have a note that says, "What is reality? I am so confused." Because...
To the giant talking hippo.
This guy... Well, not even that. I could suspend my disbelief for the giant talking hippo. It was the straight up gaslighting. We talked a lot about gaslighting in the last episode, but it was the gaslighting that I was having a hard time wrapping my brain around. And Arthur was so manipulative this whole show. And so basically, she informs them that they are in the ancient Egyptian underworld called, what is it called?
The Duat. The pretty much kind of what I was talking about in the first episode. The Duat. So, like in Greek mythology, you have the river Styx. That's the Duat. The river Styx takes you to Elysium in Greek mythology. You either go to Elysium or you go to Tartarus. Egyptian mythology, if your heart weighs more than feathers, you go to the Duat. Or if your life isn't scaled, like if your life isn't even.
In balance.
If your life isn't balanced, you get sent to the sands of the Duat and you get frozen in time. Or if your life was balanced, you go to the field of reeds where it's peaceful, bliss, happy, anything you ever want to do there. It's
And he opens the door and there's this huge boat. I love the colors in this scene. It reminds me of Vormir a little bit.
Because he's like, no, we're just in the mental hospital, and if I go through this door, we're going to go to a room full of a cafeteria full of people, boat full of sand, like or surrounded by sand.
And then she takes out their hearts and weighs them. Listen, this shot of her taking out their hearts reminds me of Once Upon a Time.
That's the I think she's so. Here's the thing. I'm sorry, I was mistaken earlier. I misremembered a fact of Egyptian mythology. All the Greek gods besides Osiris will ferry people across. It's just she was chosen because she was just chosen. So,
But
because she's reading off of like a script and she's messing up a lot because she hasn't done this, I think she said, for centuries, and it was just really funny with her just reading the script and how to read it correctly. She turned it like 5 times before she could read it correctly, which I thought was funny. But she, I feel like, is the comedy relief of the show.
But the way that the props that they used for the hearts
Were crystallized.
but they remind me of Once Upon a Time. Yes. Like Regina takes the hearts out. I loved the show until they did the Frozen season, and that was just kind of meh.
The last thing I remember, yeah, it was.
I really like
It
Frozen.
was the
Don't get me
end.
wrong,
It was
but
the end of season 3, beginning of season 4. The last season I saw was when Hook was introduced.
yeah.
When Hulk and Regina's mom was introduced.
Don't get me wrong, I love Frozen, but I think that especially at that point in time, it was so overblown and so everywhere. And my niece was like obsessed with Frozen back in the day.
Didn't they bring in Wizard of Oz also?
Yes, they did. Her sister is the Wicked Witch of the West. Hearts and
She
weighs
takes
them,
out the hearts and weighs
and
them.
each heart is incomplete.
They're missing half of each. Which I was thinking, why don't they just combine the two? But they're two different people.
And then they find out that this long hallway in the I'm gonna call it a psych ward because that's like the name that I know it by. But I'm sorry if
You
that's
know
not
what this reminded me of? The scene in the second Matrix movie with the Keymaster.
okay.
Where so the
You've never seen The
no,
Matrix.
so in Matrix 2, there's the hallway that's connected to everything.
Matthew really wants us to cover The Matrix on this
Yes.
podcast.
Yes. Yes. I could talk about Matrix for hours.
Each door is a memory.
Yes.
And they find a room full of people that Marc supposedly killed.
Yes, that he killed as Moon Knight.
And they find a little boy.
So at this point, it deals with the sort of death of a child.
Yeah.
And if that bothers you, skip
We
ahead.
don't see anything.
No, we don't see anything. But skip ahead. In post edit or while we're editing, we'll put in the timestamp where to jump to.
Yes. And so we basically find out that this little boy is Marc's little brother, and they're walking through
Steven chases after him,
yes.
and Steven sees what happens to him.
Well, no, because it's like a little flashback.
Yeah.
Of a Marc and his little brother, and
at this point, Steven didn't know that he has a little brother.
They're quoting the movie that we saw at
Earlier.
the end of the last episode.
Yes.
And like the boys are, each playing each character.
Yeah.
And the little brother is playing the Steven character.
Yes.
Right? No. The old Marc is playing the Steven character.
Yes. Marc is playing Steven.
Well, it would make way more sense.
Yeah.
And Steven follows the boys into a cave. I'll put it on if you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be in a title on the screen, or if you're watching it on Spotify or any other platform, I'll put it in the show notes. So the mom basically has a psychotic break
and blames Marc for the little brother's death. But everyone deals with grief differently.
I know, but it wasn't his fault. And I understand being upset.
And Marc is trying to stop Steven from seeing it.
And basically the mom beats him. There's no other way to slice that.
So the mom skips the next birthday, and then the following birthday, Mark gets up and runs out of the room into his bedroom and starts destroying his room. And then all of a sudden, you see the psychotic break, and you see Stephen Grant come out.
He starts kind of like retreating into his Steven persona as like a protection.
So
It comforts him almost.
the Stephen is the protector.
So from what obviously I'm not a doctor at all, but from what I understand about disorders like this, a lot of the time they stem from childhood trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of a wall that the person puts up in order to protect themselves.
Yeah.
That's a very base level understanding of this.
And this broke me
This was so sad.
because you see the mom grab a belt and charge at the little
Well,
boy.
and as it can be so powerful without you actually having to witness.
And
Everything is heavily implied, but it is just as powerful as if you were witnessing it.
because so with that scene, he was destroying the room, and then Stephen came out and started cleaning with the British accent.
Hmm.
And this is where Stephen realizes that he's the fake one,
Yeah.
that Mark was the real one, while Stephen thought he was real and Mark was fake.
And
Which
so,
that also broke me slightly.
yes,
Because imagine thinking
you're
you're the
just
real
living your
persona,
life.
that you're the real persona, but
It
then
also broke my heart later when we figure out that like he thinks he's been calling his mom every day.
mm-hmm.
But that was just Mark putting up a protection because he doesn't really have his mom.
But who was he calling? Unless he was calling his mom's phone number. He could
Or
have been
he just, I hate to say, imagines that
no,
he
but
was.
you see that the phone is on a call. I think he calls the mom's dead number because it's always a voicemail.
Yeah.
So I think when Steven calls the mom, it's on a voicemail.
Wouldn't somebody else have gotten that number by then?
Maybe, but not. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know how that works in England.
And then Mark basically runs away as a teen.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of the end of.
Where he's like, the dad says, we can fix this. We can fix what's going on with her. And he's like, why do we need to fix it? You needed to fix this a long time ago. Which, I mean, I don't blame Mark for saying that. I don't.
Well, I don't think that anybody is responsible for somebody else's
Like,
treatment of them.
if you or I have a psychotic break, I wouldn't expect Ollie to fix whichever one of us has it.
You said our son's name.
Shit. I would not I would not expect our child to fix us.
Well, it's not the child's responsibility.
It's the partner's responsibility to help.
But also it is the other parent, the healthy parent.
To
It's their responsibility to take care of the child and take them out of a dangerous situation.
Yes, and the dad didn't. The dad put the mom above the child.
Which I understand your partner being a priority, but like once you have a child, your priorities shift. We might have to swing back and kind of touch on it slightly.
Yeah, so Mark runs away and tells his dad, I'm done with her. She's like been horrible to me my entire life. I'm done. And the dad says, I don't blame you, pretty much.
Yeah. And then they flash to the archaeological dig where Layla's dad was killed.
Yes.
And I had a question that said, is this where Khonshu takes over?
So he got discharged, but it wasn't dishonorably discharged. I know that there's a third one, I just don't remember what it's called. There's honorable, dishonorable, and then there's the
Like a medical leave?
no, not yeah, close to medical leave, where you're not dishonoredly discharged, but you're not honorably discharged. It's
Mm-hmm.
that weird middle where he made some questionable choices, but it was more because of his psyche.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
And this is where Khonshu turns
yeah,
into Moon Knight, which is the first time we've actually heard the name.
yes. So Stephen gets shown how he got turned into a Moon Knight. His partner tried to kill him, also, with everyone else. So Mark tried to stop his partner from killing everyone.
Mhm.
While Layla believes that it was Marc who killed her dad, essentially.
And then we are flashed back to Mark meeting with Arthur, and Arthur is encouraging Mark to open up to Steven, which I think is a little messed up because
So a lot of this will be bouncing back and forth
a
between.
lot of these scenes are like intercut or like.
Yeah.
I think that the show uses a lot of flash forwards and snapping him back to reality and like stuff like that to kind of disorient you.
But what's reality and what's fake?
That's the thing.
Yeah, no, it's weird.
We
See,
figure out that the mom died, and
so this was 2 months ago.
yeah,
The mom died 2 months ago.
and Mark is invited to her shiva, which is a Jewish funeral, basically, and Mark just stands outside and drinks.
And Steven takes over in the grief. Because Steven comes over in massive grief.
hmm
And Steven never left. This is pretty much where Steven reassures Mark that his brother's death wasn't his fault in the cave.
It wasn't. It was an
I
accident.
mean, it kind of was, though. Because the mom did say, don't go to the cave when it's raining. And it was starting to pour.
I mean, I think
Mark
as an
still.
older sibling, I mean, I'm the baby of my family, so I'm not entirely sure about the responsibilities of an older sibling, but you are supposed to steer your younger siblings away from danger.
Yeah, but Mark is the one that said, yeah, we can still go to the cave, it's fine.
So they figure out that their souls are unbalanced, and the dead, then the people from the cafeteria scene
Yeah.
are
From
they come
Duat.
yeah, they come in to fight them. And Steven cannot be taken onto the boat because he's not a real soul, and he basically like turns to dust.
No, he got thrown overboard
Yeah.
and then turned to dust.
hmm And then the
And
scales balance, and Mark goes to the fields of reeds.
yeah.
And that's the end of episode. And then episode 6 is called Gods and Monsters.
Yes, which is my favorite episode.
Mm,
I'm not saying it's my favorite because it was the end, which I'm glad we were done. I really liked it.
yes.
Because I can't think of another scene besides Civil War, the end scene of Civil War, Cap, Iron Man, and Bucky's fight.
Yeah.
To be this
Epic, badass, for lack of a better word.
yes. I mean, can you think of one?
And I like that Layla finally gets something to do.
Okay.
I think I've made it very clear how much it drives me crazy when women in this franchise are just there. And looking at you, Pepper,
We haven't even seen Pepper. I don't even think Pepper's even in the MCU anymore.
it drives me insane. And I'm not saying that like Layla has done nothing,
She's done nothing.
but like up until this episode, she's really just like kind of just been there.
Been there, killed this one dude, and that's all.
And I've been waiting for her to
And
like
hated Mark the entire time.
I've just been waiting for her to like an actual character that I want to root for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finally glad that she got somewhere.
Yeah.
So basically he gets pulled out of the water by Arthur's men,
Mm-hmm.
and Layla then takes the scarab because he basically had
No. He got pulled out of the water. Haro took the whatever it's called, the Amit's tomb.
hmm, the scarab?
No, Amit's tomb.
Oh,
The statue thing.
Ushbati.
Ushbadi.
Right. Yeah, so he takes the Ushbati.
And puts the scarab down, which in all reality, don't you think that would have been a mistake? To put the one device to find the item?
I guess he thought he was dead, so nobody would ever find the if because it's inside the tombs, and then you need the thing to find the tomb. And if you hide the thing inside the tomb, they're never going to be able to find it. That seemed a little odd.
Yeah.
So then Layla takes it, and then Arthur runs into some kind of it looks like border control, and he uses his
No,
cane.
it's not border patrol. It was just like a checkpoint. A military checkpoint.
Yeah. And he like uses his cane and kills a bunch of people.
So the cane it got imbued with more power.
Mhm.
So you know before how he had to hold the hands of the person to judge them?
Yeah.
Now he can just go and then send out the same like energy ripple.
Mhm.
And everyone else died but one person. And
No, everybody is dead. But then
No,
Toweret's
one person was still alive. It was the person that the purple was in and, like, dissipated it. And he's like, "You don't need the walkie-talkie anymore. You're coming with us, and you're joining us."
And then Toweret starts talking, the hippo starts talking through the dead guy.
Through multiple dead people.
And
To Layla, it's like, "Hey, you need to..."
well, because Layla sneaks in.
Yeah, Layla snuck in and pretty much gets told, "Hey, you need to free Khonshu. You need to go with them and free Khonshu.
And they go.
And then Marc can come back to life." And she's like, "I don't believe you." She's like, "Well, I'm a hippo talking to you through a dead person. And I can make you my avatar. I don't want to be an avatar. I don't believe you." Pretty much. It's like, fine, whatever. You do you.
They have to go to the pyramid to release Amit. Or sorry, Arthur wants to go to the pyramid to release Amit.
Yes.
And he basically throws the Ushbati, the little statue, down on the ground, and it releases Amit. And Amit is this like big alligator-looking thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Khonshu comes in or appears, and he wants Layla as an avatar.
And Layla's like, "No, Marc hated you. Marc wanted to be done with you. No." He's like, "But you would be a good avatar." "No. Marc doesn't trust you. I don't trust you." He's like, "Fine." And then he feels Marc being alive. He's like, "Oh, Marc's alive." And disappears.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Marc finds Steven.
Mm-hmm.
And a door in the psych ward opens. Sorry if this is really confusing. All of these scenes are so intercut with each other.
Yes.
And a door opens and Steven comes back.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this battle between Amit and Kongshu.
And Amit beats down Khonshu
Yeah.
so violently.
Marc comes back to life and summons the suit.
Yes. He's like, "Marc's alive." Disappear. I mean, that's essentially what it was.
I just like your sounds.
I'm sorry, but Khonshu has the coolest, like, disappearing and reappearing ability.
He kind of apparates.
Yes. Yes. So is he a wizard?
We basically learn that they have to trap Amit in a mortal form to defeat her.
Because no. So here's the thing: in most mythologies, gods can die. In Egyptian, they don't. A god can't kill. Gods can kill gods, but mortals can't kill gods.
Yeah.
Which is weird because in like Norse mythology and Greek mythology, a person can kill a god.
So then Layla becomes the hippo's avatar, and
After a lot of convincing.
This is the scene that you hate because the hippo gives her away. She's hiding.
Yeah, she's hiding, and the hippo's like, "Yay, Layla, you're going to be my avatar!" And just gives her position away. Like, what the heck? You should know that she's whispering, so you should whisper. But also, she seems like she doesn't talk to very many people.
She seems like me.
She seems like she's a loner and is happy when someone talks to her.
So me.
You don't yell when people talk to you, or when you talk to people.
Sometimes don't understand my own volume.
Yeah.
And then we learn that Moon Knight can fly.
Yes. Like, Moon Knight is cool. He also has, in my opinion, the coolest looking suit.
Yeah, I can see like the ancient Egyptian like references and things in his outfit,
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty cool. So Arthur then goes to the top of the pyramid and calls his followers to be judges, and they basically all start like grabbing random people.
Because he hits the
Scales. So it's like the Dark Mark. Voldemort calling his Death Eaters.
Yeah, sure. So does Voldemort base his stuff off of Egyptian mythology?
Don't know. Then Layla gets her outfit and she's finally a badass.
She looks so cool in it.
She gets wings!
But she can't fly.
She's like a penguin.
She's like a dodo bird.
And then this fight scene is awesome.
When they're big, or like between
The one where they're like on the random street.
Okay, yeah, that is a really cool fight scene. And oh my gosh, just that fight and
Amit and Khonshu were on the roof fighting.
or they're just in the desert fighting in like their giant forms.
No, they're like on the building.
No, they're not on the building.
Oh.
They're surrounding the pyramid. They're in the stands around the pyramid. The pyramids are like right outside the city. Weird when you think about it, because if
Okay,
you see pictures of the pyramids, they
yeah,
look
if you've
far
ever
away.
looked at the pyramids of Giza and like you look at like the typical touristy postcardy photo and then you flip the camera around, it's like a very average city, like
Yes,
right next to it.
very different.
It's so weird.
I would love to go to Egypt.
Okay, and then Amit stabs Khonshu
Hmm.
and Arthur stabs Mark.
So the third the not the third persona takes over and pretty much just kills everyone. And Layla's like, "What was that, Mark?" He's like, "I don't know. I blacked out." He's like, "Was that you, Steven?" But at this time, Steven and Mark, which I totally forgot to say, they're connected now. So it's no more when one goes to sleep, the other wakes up.
Yeah,
It's
they can kind of flip back and forth.
which is by far the coolest fighting ability because they both fight very differently.
Mhm.
Like Mark fights with the moonerangs, and Steven fights with the bow staff
Yeah,
or the bow sticks. The I don't know what they're actually called in martial
like a
arts.
nunchuck.
No, a nunchuck has the chain in the middle.
Mhm.
I think they're just bow staffs.
Mhm.
So
My brother would know.
it's two different fighting styles. Where that would be hard for anyone to fight. Because like you could be fighting it with the bow staff with Steven, and then all of a sudden you just get stabbed in the gut by Mark.
Yeah. And they have to do a spell to bind Arthur to Amit.
So they take him to the temple, and he's like, "You won't defeat me. I will still come back and fight you."
Mhm.
Blah 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 blah. And Amit gets sealed into
Well,
Arthur.
Mark has to choose to stab Arthur with the moons and chooses not to.
Yeah, because Mark doesn't kill, or he doesn't kill if he doesn't want to.
Mhm.
Which, I mean, if anyone deserved to get stabbed and killed,
It's the
it's
gaslighting
Arthur.
king.
But Layla said we need the body to put him in, or for Amit. We need the body to seal Amit in.
Yeah. And Mark basically is back in the underworld, back in the like psych ward, and he looks in the mirror and there's the doctor, Arthur, has blood on his shoes.
And he's like, I wasn't sure how long this would take for you to figure out. And the psych ward breaks.
And Stephen wakes up in bed
Or it's Mark that wakes up.
and there's two goldfish.
Yeah. And his foot is still tied.
And then there's an end credit scene where Arthur is now the patient at the ward.
Because no one believes that he has a god in him. I
Yeah.
mean, would you?
No. And then the security guard dude is dead and he's thrown into a car and Khonshu is sitting in the car with him.
With the third persona,
And we meet Jake Lockley.
which I completely forgot his name in the comics. So he is the violent one. Which did you tell what the name on the license plate was?
No.
It said Spectre.
Mm.
It was like it spelled out Spectre in like 6 letters
Mm-hmm.
to give a subtle hint that that's still Mark Spectre.
And then he shoots Arthur.
Yeah.
And that is the end of Moon Knight.
Khonshu gave up Mark and Steven
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't even know about the third persona.
Yeah.
They didn't realize how broken they were. So I wonder when the third persona came into play.
I wonder too, and
Unless if Moon Knight put the third persona in.
well, because so if we're supposed to believe that Stephen was the manifestation of his childhood trauma, or it was his trauma response rather,
So,
was Jake another trauma response then?
I mean, it would make sense if Khonshu put Jake in the head. Because neither one of them knew about it. And usually in a case like that, which I'm getting all my info from like Criminal Minds, CSI, and like NCIS and all of that. Usually the main person knows all of the personas.
The host person.
The host person knows all the personas. That's why I think Khonshu put this one in there.
Mm-hmm.
Because Mark was technically on the on the brink of death, when Khonshu saved him. Maybe Khonshu slipped the other persona in? The violent one, which would make sense that it was the violent one that did all the killings as Moon Knight, not Mark. But Mark came to and thought that he did them.
Yeah.
Because it's only a split second like that when the other persona comes out. As we saw in Germany, when we saw on the roof, that we saw in the alleyway, that we saw everywhere else when the third persona would come out. It would only be for a split second.
Yeah.
And that's why they didn't open up the third tomb, because they didn't know what was in there. Which seems like kind of shady work on Khonshu's part, but Khonshu is a god. So I would expect that. Right?
That
We are done with Moon Knight Week and Movie Month.
TV show month.
TV show month.
You keep calling it movie month.
Mm.
So next week we will be talking about Black Widow. We're back, like we said at the beginning, we're back to our 1 a week episodes for now.
Yes.
Follow us on Instagram for the whole month of December. I'm doing Instagram reels and TikToks of me opening the Marvel Funko Advent calendar.
And then on once a week on Saturdays, we will take a picture of them on our tree to post on the Instagram.
Because I'm gonna make them into Christmas ornaments.
Yes. And we're still trying to figure out how.
And I think Matthew wants to do the Marvel Lego Advent calendar on the YouTube.
I just have to find it.
And so yep. So yeah, follow us on or support us on Patreon if that's something you guys want to do. We've got a $1, $3, and $5 tiers. And we've got a bunch of bonus content on there, and you get the episodes a whole day early, plus a shout out in every episode.
And
we'd love to have you over there.
My character deep dives.
That's what I said, bonus content.
Okay.
But
yeah, every couple days we'll put on the Instagram just a poll of different shows that you guys will want to see us do in the future. And remember, we try to keep this PG-13 as close as possible, but if you guys want us to do a particular show,
we've been talking about possibly doing Game of Thrones,
but that would be Patreon exclusive.
Yeah.
That would only be on
It's just Patreon. A lot, and it's also that's one of those shows that we would have to
figure out how we're going to do so we don't spend a year on.
Well, not even just that, but it's a pretty adult show, and I think Patreon exclusive would be the best way to do it, just because there's a lot that we would have to talk about that we might not
be able
to talk about on the public forum.
Yeah. So just let us know. We would still have our normal Spotify and YouTube shows on there, but that would be a Patreon exclusive.
So, this is the bestest time as any. I don't think we've actually said this in the episode yet. But so we have always had plans for this podcast to cover other fandoms, but we wanted to take a few episodes break come February once we're caught up with everything.
Yeah, so the February, just from how it falls out,
Matthew's been like planning the trajectory of everything.
Yes. So we should be done with the MCU content that is out on Disney Plus by the end of January. And then February 17th is when the new Ant-Man movie comes out. So we'll have about a 2-week hiatus there between that. And then we will have from February 17th to May 5th, which is Guardians. So we'll have about a 2-month hiatus there, which we will probably do Harry Potter at that time.
Because those are 8 episodes.
Yeah.
But we have some room for a couple of either one-off movies or much shorter
But we are
franchises.
still going to do the Marvel Hogwarts sorting.
Yes, so we wanted to sort like the major characters and their love interests and villains and things.
Yes, so we'll do that in one of the hiatus weeks. But we're not going. When we say hiatus, we don't mean taking a break. We just mean taking a break from Marvel.
So, because eventually this podcast will eventually branch off, because this is why we named it the Fan Club Podcast.
Yes.
Because we have every intention of doing other things. This is not strictly an MCU
But
podcast.
we will still do the MCUs on Marvel Mondays when
we have content to cover.
Yes, because Marvel usually will only do 3 or 4 different things a year. besides the TV shows, but movies-wise, there's only
So
3 or 4 a year.
basically, the point of bringing all this up is if you guys have any small franchises or
Big franchises or
TV shows or one-off movies that you love that you want us to cover, we would love to do that. Both of us have like a lot of just one-off random movies that we love that we want to kind of introduce to each other. Not that neither one of us have ever seen some of those. I've never seen Knives Out. You love that movie. I think
Yes.
that would be a really fun one to cover.
I love Knives Out.
I think that you really want to do Clue, which is a similar vibe.
I would. Clue is a great one.
There's a couple of other ones that I would have to come up with a couple for me.
I mean,
I love the movie Midsummer, but I wouldn't know how to cover it.
that could be a Patreon only, but for Spotify, we would have to do something else also that week. But going forward, they're not going to be creative like Marvel Mondays, but Marvel stuff, MCU stuff will always come out on Mondays.
Yes. I don't know if our upload date for the rest of the stuff we plan to cover will change. So, yeah, that just about wraps that up. We just kind of want we kind of just want your input on things that you feel that would be a really interesting discussion topic. Eventually, this is a large undertaking, but eventually I want to do Pixar.
If you come up with the name for Pixar, like we have Marvel Mondays, Wizard Wednesdays, Super Saturdays, if you can come up with
All the credit goes to you.
Yeah, if you can come up with something for Pixar.
Do I get credit if I come up with it?
No. But if a listener comes up with whatever the most clever honey Pixar one, you will get a shout out every single Pixar episode.
Yep. So yeah, that's a wrap on TV show month. Join us next week for Black Widow, and we'll see y'all then.
Bye.
If you would like to send us any feedback or any messages, you can follow us over on Instagram at thefanclub_podcast or on Twitter at fanclub_podcast. Or you can discuss each episode with us over on our subreddit, which is reddit.com/r/thefanclubpodcast. And make sure that you tune in every Marvel Monday.